What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Serious Angler podcast, powered by our friends over at X2 Power Batteries. As always, I'm your host, Bailey Eichbrett, and unfortunately not joined with me again. It's been a few episodes in a row. Well, I take that back. This is going to be Friday's episode. Hopefully, Andy has joined us for Tuesday Night Live. We're actually dual streaming with Kevin Baxter over at the Baitman TV. Hopefully Andy can join us for the episode. We're actually filming this on a Monday, getting it in early before the holiday, before Thanksgiving. So you guys are hearing this at least on a Friday. This is when it's going to air. So hopefully you've had a great Thanksgiving and you guys are getting dueled up and wheeled up for the Black Friday sales that are going to be going on. And we have a super cool guest today, a guy that's been on the show before a long time ago. So it's well past due getting him on the show. Before we do, a couple notes for you guys. One, again, hopefully you had a great Thanksgiving, time off with the family, food comas, the whole 9 yards. We do have a few Black Friday deals that you guys should look out for, and that is Do It Molds is running several different things. If you guys are into custom bait creation, Do It Molds is the place to do it. Links down below if you guys want to capitalize on that, as well as Hobie Eyewear is running deals for if you buy one, it's 15% off. Buy two, it's 25, three, 35. So really a great chance to try out some different lenses, different shades, and save some money while doing it. And then lastly, Omnia Fishing is running deals for the next few days, as well as some promotions later on in December, which will unleash on a new episode coming up here soon. But today, as of today, if you're listening to this on a Friday, November 25th, they are going to be doing 50% off of Lou's Custom and Custom Pro Speed Spool casting reels. And tomorrow, the 26th, will be 50% off Berkeley Max Scent Generals, 40% off Daiwa Pro Scion reels on Sunday, the 27th. And then lastly, on the 28th, next Monday, they're going to be doing 33% off of Seaguar and VizX fluorocarbon. So for you Seaguar fellas like myself, that is a great time to save some money, especially online, which we all spend so much money on throughout the year. And all these deals are good until the 28th, so take advantage of them. They get better each day. And we'll leave the link down below again if you guys want to go check anything out. And remember to use our Omnia and Hobie Eyewear discount codes. We'll save you some extra money on top of all that. For tonight's episode, I know I'm hosting alone. There might be, I don't want to give up anyone's hopes, but there might be a slight chance that Mr. Drew Gregory comes and joins us and co-hosts. Depends on how long it takes him to get his kids to bed. But if he does, great. If not, either way, we have a great guest for today, Mr. Cody Milton, who won Angler of the Year for 2 out of the 3 big national kayak trails, which is extremely impressive. And I could say many great things, but I think we should just let him do the talking here. So without further ado, Mr. Cody Milton, what's going on, buddy?
How's it going? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. Like I was telling people, it's been a long time coming. Like I was telling you before we got on the show, I think you were in like the first 20 or 30 episodes.
I think so. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
It was a good
episode.
If that's
the case, that's like 3 years, man.
Yeah.
I'm slacking.
Yeah, I was trying to think. There might have been. I feel like you may have helped co-host one with Paddle and Finn in between there, but I don't think there was a serious podcast one in there. Maybe not. I don't know. But yeah. Anyways, we're back.
I mean, yeah, there's so many different shows going left and right now that it's kind of like hard to remember. But it's man, yeah. I think I need a slap on the wrist for taking me 3 years to get you back on another one. But for real, no, congrats, man. Like I don't know if anyone's had that much of a banner year as you have. I mean, for folks that are watching on YouTube, you could see the accolades stacking up in the back corner of his room. But yeah, see, yeah. I mean, dude, that's a hell of a year. I mean, Angler of the Year to many is the most prestigious award of a trail. And the fact that you did it at the best circuit in the country and then on top of it, another national circuit, it's pretty dang impressive.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It was a long year for sure.
There was
a lot of downs too.
I mean, with that, I mean, that's one thing it's super interesting to talk about. And I think you'd be a great advocate for this is so many people, I think, hold back in tournaments or do bad in tournaments because they're afraid of failing and they end up failing because of that. Whereas if you think about the picture of things, you might, you and your buddies, you might, oh crap, I suck today. But like that day after that, the only thing that people remember is the winner, not the person who sucks. If you don't go out with an open mind, I mean, right?
That's true. Yeah. And you never know when you're going to like, there's been so many tournaments this year where like, or I practiced in an area all day and didn't end up knowing I was going to fish there for the last couple hours of the day. I mean, it just seemed like the whole year it was just like getting some key bite in the last hour, putting some little key information together in the last couple hours of practice. I don't know. It just always seemed like it wasn't like anything. It was just like, I don't know. I can't like pinpoint like one thing that like particularly went well this year, other than just I don't know, probably mentally being more consistent than I normally am. I mean, like even at the tournament you won, like I locked my keys in the car the first day, like first ramp I went to, which I think ended up being where you went. So I should have just slept there the whole tournament. But it was like I ended up like that event. I ended up going out of the same boat ramp for like 4 straight days of practice because I really didn't have any other options. But I don't know. I just kind of made the most of like all the odd situations I feel like I found myself in this year.
Yeah, I think I remember that. It was a ramp that was actually really close by the one I launched at. And I remember
Gotcha.
seeing your van, and I messaged you, and you're like, "Yeah, I locked my keys in there, so I can't like do anything about it." So I remember that specifically. That was super interesting. That was fun.
Yeah,
But
no, some catfishermen found them. They were so the AFCO little the floating lanyards we always get. They actually work. They do work.
it came in handy.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think a catfisherman found them on like Thursday night or something. I ended up getting them like the day after day one on Saturday. So they were floating aimlessly down the river for 4 days.
You couldn't like hitch a ride or something, have somebody drop you off at a different ramp.
I probably could have, but I was camping in Cowicky Creek, and it's like anything you read about it says you might as well go there. So I was like, I don't know. I never had like a bad day of practice either. So it was like, I don't know. I feel like all I needed was somewhere in that creek. So
Yeah, you had no external pressure to go anywhere else.
no, not really. This is where I was fishing.
Yeah. Well, dang. Well, dude, do you know the number of events you fished this year?
Man, I don't off the top of my head.
You have like an over under?
And it would be somewhere around 20 for sure.
20.
Yeah, it would be somewhere in that range. 6. Yeah, probably around 20.
And those are all like national level events, right?
Majority of them, yeah. They some of those KFL events later in the season. I had a few weekends I was off on those, but man, yeah, it was probably like 18 at least. I know normally it's somewhere between that 15 to 20 range.
Dang, dude, that's.
But
I think I had 14 this year, with like a majority, maybe half of those being local, which is like maybe practice for 2 hours, sleep in the truck and fish the next day type of deal. Whereas like majority being national tournament, dude, I'm whooped after that. I don't know how you do it, but I also gotta say you got a dang cool setup.
Yeah, it makes it easier. Yeah, I mean, being able to, like, definitely been days where it's like, as soon as you like beach your boat, all you want to do is go to sleep, and I've definitely done that a lot. I've just loaded it up in the van and just went to sleep at the boat ramp many a times. So
Yeah,
it is.
Go ahead.
I said it makes it easy though. I mean, even just practicing, like being able to easily launch 3 and 4 different times in a day, not have to take a rod or a graph or anything out of the boat helps a lot.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's way more mobile. I mean, our
For sure.
co-host in here who must have a record timing gotten his kids to bed because he's joining us here. We talk about mobility. Good gosh, this guy with his truck. We'll bring him in here quick, but that's one thing I really want to talk to you about in this one is practice, because I think it's one where a lot of people either overthink it or maybe go too open-minded into something. I think it's super interesting from the kayak because it's a completely different strategy from the boat world. Completely different. But
sure.
Without further ado, let's bring in our co-host for tonight, Mr. Drew Gregory. What's going on, buddy?
What's up, guys? Not much, man. Just got so much going on, but I heard you guys speaking my language, talking about loading up and relaunching. So I was like, this is perfect timing.
Yeah.
Love to do the old Tacoma outboard move during the day. Love it.
There you go.
So, but anyway, yeah, actually, Bailey, kids are still up. My parents just got here, so they're just playing, having fun. They're going to be up later. So I probably got 15 minutes to hop on here and at least chat it up with you guys and say congrats to Cody one more time. I know we did it in person, but congrats again, man. What an awesome season. And to hold 2 of the 3 national AOIs is pretty cool. But you got to come for one of these, next.
Another side of the shoulder.
That's right. And we talked about that too at the TOC. We said, hey, you got an AOI for KBF and for Hobie, and I've got one for Hobie and Bassmaster. So you're coming after what I got, and I'm coming after what you got to complete the slam.
Complete the slam.
Yeah, man.
So Drew, I had asked Cody earlier on the show, but has anyone ever won man, obviously I know Bassmaster is pretty new. Hobie to an extent is relatively new, but like, has anyone else had as much of a banner season as Cody has from like a hardware standpoint?
I don't know, man. I mean, yeah, if you're counting AOIs, for sure not. I mean, I don't know about – that's a weird thing. Like wins, Cody, what's the most wins you've had in the season? Like number of wins.
Yeah, like definitely not like Ewing or you or Russ have had. I don't feel like.
Yeah,
I don't think 4. Like I think generally it's somewhere between like 3, 2 to. But
for sure, you got one of the highest floors in the game. I mean, in terms of like, I feel like you're always in the hunt, always in the mix. You know what I mean? Like you're up there, you're consistent, and that's what gets AOIs. I did win 6 this year, but that's also not that you shouldn't count it like this, but that's a Trail Series 1, a Trail Series 2, a Saturday and a Sunday, and a Pro Series. And obviously, if anybody won any of those 3, they would say, I won a national tournament this year, and they did. So you got to count them, but it was definitely one location, one weekend, which is, whatever. But 6 total. So I don't know if that's I'd much rather have the 2 AOIs, Cody, but
I don't know. It goes both ways though.
It does.
I don't know. For a while, like all I wanted to do was win, one of the or win one of those big ones, and I don't know. I still do, but I like the AOI.
Yeah, but if you've won a Bassmaster, right? Because you won Lake Fork.
I think I won the first one actually.
First one.
Yeah,
so you do have a win in every series. So
I did.
That was like the first one was the one in conjunction with the Classic, right? 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was the first like regular season one after that.
Oh, okay, I got you.
The Lake Fork, I think it was.
Yeah.
Cool, yeah, I mean, Drew makes a great point though. Like whether I'm fishing the event or I'm not fishing the event and I'm just keeping up with what's going on, dude, it's like guaranteed lock that at least on day 1 you're gonna see your name up in the top 10. It's like always like it's a given.
Yeah, I've got to get starting area. I guess I don't know what to do after that. I guess that's the sign.
Yeah, that was my. Yeah, when I had flaws this year, that's what it was about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, multi-day events. I mean, that's the challenge, right? Is you can. It's easier. I'm not going to say it's easy, but easier to find decent preliminary areas. But the key is obviously being able to hold out in that area or have backup stuff that can keep you going throughout the multi-day event. But that brings us to that question of practice. And that's one thing I'm super curious about is like, do you have any sort of routine when it comes to practice in terms of like where you at least try to start? Or is it, I mean, I'm sure to an extent it's variable on location.
I feel like I used to have more of like a set game plan, like how, I don't know, not exactly how Ike and Ellie rates waters as far as like A+, B+ with like rating channel things versus points versus all that things. Like, I don't know. I think our equation's different. It's almost more of like, it's how many different, I don't know, how many different A+ things can you have within one access point? Like, can I have water access? Can I have moving water in the back of it? Like, can I have something to flip somewhere in the back of it is there like some type of vegetation somewhere at the mouth or something? Like giving yourself different things out of one launch opposed to just having one thing you can do out of one launch. Like that's probably saved me as much as anything. Like a lot of the best tournaments you have end up coming in places you didn't catch a fish during practice just because something changed, I know like everyone says that at some point. But I don't know. Yeah, no, I feel like I check the extremities more, like not just like not like just as far up something as I can go, but like I definitely want to check as far up some rivers. But man, even just checking like at the dam, like it's amazing the difference in watercolor and the biggest thing is just watercolor and water temperatures, like especially early in the year, like they can vary like 10 or 11 degrees. Like I know at Toledo it was this year. You launch up at that north end, it was, unbelievably warmer and stuff than it was on the south end. And that's a different fish, especially when you start talking 8 degrees difference in like high 50s,
Yep.
it might not be different 40s or something, but you start getting that window. I don't know. I like to know what's available, I guess.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're prioritizing diversity and less time wasted over anything else. Whereas as long as you can be on the water, as long as you can, and making more casts in a day, that is your priority.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Whereas some folks, I mean, it works for Drew, but you've mentioned before that you've been driving almost a third of your day on tournaments.
I have. Every tournament is so different because, I mean, obviously, if I'd found something better, I wouldn't have been driving. One time I drove on Champlain. I left the north end of the lake and I drove like 2 hours south in the middle of the tournament. I lost 2 hours, but I only did it because, well, actually, that is a different situation. I actually had like 90 something inches and I was like, all right, I'm pretty good. I just need to go find, how big they can get down south. But normally it's the opposite. It's like, I'm scrambling. This is all I got. So, but yeah, I'm willing to do it for sure. But every tournament's different because, if you can find them obviously in one little a cove or somewhere like an arm of a lake, like Cody's saying, and you have the vegetation here, you got some main river, main lake stuff at the mouth, or you got further back, and then you never have to leave at all. And it's even better because you kind of where you found them in practice. So if they're not there, where they had to have gone, one way or the other. So you can kind of dial them back in. So, but it's kind of, remember Matt Pengrack, I don't know what he calls it. It's like the spoke and hub sort of theory. That's another thing I've heard it called, where he's got his hub and all of his little stuff he's going to get is like the spokes off that hub. And he wants to keep it tight in an area. Even in the bass boat world now, it's a little tighter. I mean, tighter for us. But to me, you can do that spoke and hub thing. I don't mind moving 1 or 2 times in the day and then doing what Cody's saying. You know what I'm saying? Like 2 or 3 different areas, because especially on day one, because then you've learned a lot more about what's going on in those 3 places and can expand on. Maybe you just go back to one of them because you really figured it out, one of them a little bit better, or two of them, and the third one was no good. And then you're moving into like we always mention, how Fighter says he wants to be learning and moving into his pattern and figuring it out during the tournament day. I like it to be day one, obviously, middle of the day, second half of the day, and then day 2, you're like, when other people maybe are going down with their links, you're kind of coming into your stuff a little bit better and ending on a high note. So,
yeah. I mean, Cody, one thing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying, like being on that trending bite, like at the TOC was like obviously, I don't know. In my opinion, was being on those grass flats. Like I feel like that was a decent bite during practice, and as every day got colder, those grass flats got stronger and stronger. But I don't know. Small example.
Yeah. Well, and really quick, Cody, kind of hone in on that point where when you talk about a trending bite or a bite that's you hear the line that's cliche of fish coming to you. People hear that all the time. But I don't think a lot of people understand what that really means. I mean, I think obviously fish coming to you is straightforward, but they don't know the signs to look for when that's happening. Can you kind of expand on that really quick?
Man, I mean, it is different. It is different where you are. I think probably one of the easiest ones for people to pick up is on grass fisheries, because they tend to usually do one of 2 things. Like, I mean, Caddo was fishing a lot like a Florida lake would in the fall, minus like the trees for the most part, like, which is a big bonus. But I mean, those, when it gets cold, like they're either going to be in the thickest brown mats you can find, or they're going to be in the deepest, green living hydrilla you can find. And it seems like on Caddo, there was a lot more of that deep hydrilla, especially the schooling fish, not even just like, ones you visibly see, schooling, but those ones that are feeding heavily underwater on the big gizzard shad, like those fish were definitely go for hydrilla. And I think a lot of those guys, knew that and took advantage of it. But that's kind of an easier one. And I mean, just another good example. Even just you see it a lot in Florida. A guy crushes like a 32-pound bag. He didn't even go back to the same side of the lake on the day before because like he knows that bite's not even possible anymore. Where it's like a lot maybe push that into the next day. Whereas like a Scott Martin or a John Cox, like they head to the east side from the get go that day.
Yeah,
I don't know. Probably believing some of those changes is going to happen is probably the hardest part than actually thinking that it's.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point too, and I think that factor right there comes a lot with experience. Because I think if you're new to that, there might be people that are like, "Oh man, I crushed them today, but that wind might be pounding on that. I might force it. Those fish might still be there, and that burns them because it kills half their day, if not the full day."
Yep.
That I think definitely comes with experience, which shows for you, and that leads me to a question of, in your mind, do you think when it comes to the decision making, whether it's where you're going to start or whether it's an adjustment throughout the day, do you think you're more calculated, where it's like you're thinking the night before of like, I'm going to start here, and if that sucks, I'm going to go here or here? Or do you like, I'm going to start there, if it doesn't work, just letting yourself be open-minded and just go fish? Like, which one do you think you lean more towards?
It definitely goes both ways. Like sometimes, like Drew knows where I was fishing.
Yeah.
Like that was that's a particular area where, regardless of the day, like I was going to go there and figure out the bite because there just wasn't a whole lot they could get. There wasn't a lot of deep grass they could roam to. The bite's going to change in those areas, but a lot of times that being more of a window deal, like you just end up only getting them for an hour or something during the day.
And that's what happened there.
Yeah, it was
kind of right when I pulled up on you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I tell Cody, dude, you're welcome, man. You got to thank me. Right when I pull up, he gets his fifth fish. He's over there pumping. First time I caught 3, days of limits in a row at the TOC. It was pretty exciting. I got a picture of that fish. I got to send it to you. So,
yeah.
But it was just a window for sure. And that spot too, to tag on to the end of this question, Bailey, was a good example of somewhere that when you go there, you're committed. Because it's a long run. You can't get out of there. By the time you paddle all the way, back to a launch, reload up and go somewhere else, boy, you've wasted way too much time then. So that is a good example of somewhere, you're committed. I would, if I smashed 30 pounds or whatever, your example was on day one, I would always have a hard time not going back to there again, just to check it. And even though I know it could be gone, but I'm more on the first thing Bailey said, where I'm always thinking of, all right, I'm giving myself an out. If it's not happening by a certain amount of time, I'm going here and then maybe even here, like 3. I'm just like plan B, C, and D have got to come into play and come into play quick. I'm not as much of like, I just can't think like that. I'm going to figure it out, on the whim. Like I got to kind of have somewhat of an idea where I can go and what I can do to at least scrounge out whatever. Yeah. So a lot of times it may not be a win. It might just be scrounging out to stay in a check, which is, of course, considered a win in our sport. So,
right. Well, so Cody, for your bite on Caddo, that's a window deal for you?
I don't think I ever, like the first day, I think I had like low 80s going into 1 o'clock. But I mean, every other day, 2 and 3, I had, barely 73 inches going into, 1 o'clock on. It was like I would get 2 to 4 good looks. It seemed like the last hour and a half. It was just like the most crazy thing. But I guess a lot of guys were that way. I mean, I think they were probably catching more fish throughout the day, but it did seem like most of those better ones were getting caught later.
So this specifically is something I would love to talk about, because I blame that I'm from the north. That's what I blame it on. Our fish bite all day long, so I suck when it comes to these windows beyond just like a front coming in. Like that makes more sense. I'm going to time it. But like certain windows, man, and I experienced a little bit on you follow, like you can't catch a dang fish after 10 o'clock type of deal.
Yeah, that was true.
Yeah. What kind of, how do you know that is going to be the deal? Like whether it's a practice thing or you find it out in the tournament, like what are some signs that you can look for that whether it's weather patterns or whatever that you look for, that's like, hey, this is going to be the window. This is the time I have to be here to try and capitalize.
On those cypress tree lakes, it's as simple as the sun as much as anything. Like, yeah, there wasn't as many fish relating to the trees as there normally are there, but there's still always some. And especially when there's sun, multiple days on, there'll be plenty of fish on those trees. But like, we were just getting sun from like noon to like, the end of the day. And then the last day it was a little longer than it had been the other 2 days. But even in practice, it was that way. There just wasn't a whole lot of sun. There was like, I remember one good day of sun and getting like probably finding more fish that day than I found the rest of the tournament, rest of practice combined. But I don't know. I'm really big on having sun or at least heavy wind on those cypress tree lakes. Like, I know it's big everywhere, but man, those things are roam everywhere in 3 foot of water if something doesn't position them.
Yeah, that's kind of what happened at the end was the wind. Obviously
was.
you had the sun all day, but when I got kind of caught up to you guys after my long entire 12 something mile paddle until I finally got there of exploring, looking for something magical, which was kind of my game plan that day. I needed some big bag. And I was like, I'll go do something no one else will do and we'll see what happens. But eventually I got there and the wind picked up. The sun had been out all day. Here's what I want to know, Cody. Do you think that the trees are warmer when they've had a long period of sun on the one side of the tree, or the grass is warmer? Like, what do you think? Or do you think it's kind of equal? And
I
the fish
think
are just
yellow grass is definitely warmer. I think they use that tree to hunt on more than they use it for any. Is actually just the light transitions off the sides.
Yeah.
Just like those isolated mats. Like, I think that's the same. Because it was like, it seems like any bite I've ever been on Caddo has been such isolated, targets.
Yeah. They were sitting on the sunny side of the tree.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. But here's what's interesting is I bet you at certain times of year, once it gets above a certain temp and they're okay with the warmer water, I bet you they're on the shady side, ambushing out of the shade. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah. Some days it'll be both. Like, there'll be like sometimes like I'll fish just one side for the first 3 hours and then I'll fish just the other side for the next 3 hours. And like, even when fish are spawning on those trees in the spring, they don't sit on the same side all day. Like, I've seen so many different big females do it on Caddo. Like, they go around that tree with the sun. Like, they'll only have their eggs on one side, but they round it with the shadow. And then like, I assume they're just laying on it at night, but it is pretty odd.
That is crazy. But
I'm learning a lot right now because we won't even get into my train wreck of a TOC, but so the only trees that I fish, my brain textbook says fish the shady sides. So I'm completely missing this fish the whole day. Doesn't even bother to fish the side.
Well, here's the thing, Bailey.
It can be both. Yeah.
You can. But here's the thing. This time of the year, like, the sunny side is warmer, but they still have the knees underneath there that can provide a place for them to tuck in and still be hidden. So they still kind of have the shade down there with the sun, as opposed to just a pure solid shade that had no sun. I bet you it's a degree warmer on the other side. I don't know. Not like a ton, but enough that a fish can feel it. So, and the warmth of the sun. So yeah, it's kind of crazy. You look through those cypress forests, and as low as the water was, I know you saw this, Bailey, how many cypress knees are around and how far out they are sometimes from the trees. And you can just imagine, I was just picturing in my head, kind of like I see an undercut bank on a river when the river's really low, and I see how just undercut that is with all the roots hanging down. I'm like, that's why they hide right there when, and they come dart out when your bait comes by. That, I'm kind of picturing the knees too.
It's like an undercut bank. Like, you flip in there like a foot deeper or like a foot and a half deeper, and those are always good.
Yeah.
Like those worn out root balls.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, speaking of the swamp, before I leave, I got to run, probably get these kids to bed. But we got to tell the story. When I got there, we got to tell the story. Don't worry, I'm not going to show any pictures, but I do have some proof. But if you want to tell the story, Cody.
Is this the Matthew Scott story?
Yes, it's the Matthew Scott story. I'll start it. I'll let Cody finish.
All right.
From my perspective. Go ahead.
Can I completely? Okay, I might have to train wreck this story because I already talked to Matt, and he's going to come on and tell it himself.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
Then I'm not going to say anything.
Heck yeah.
Tonight? Is he coming on tonight?
Want
Or
to talk about it?
wait, tonight or a different time?
Matt, so it's going to be the following week. So this is going to be on a Friday.
Perfect.
Matt's coming on that following Friday's episode.
All
So
right.
people have to wait a whole week to hear this story.
All right, serious
It's worth-
anglers. Yeah, serious angler listeners, consider yourself teased at this moment. You have been professionally teased by Bailey Eibert. All right, well, cool, man. Well, then I'm going to get out of here. And I'm looking forward to next year. Cody, what is there anything before I leave? If you don't mind, Bailey, I'm going to ask him this. You may have this question already queued up, but I'm curious what your plans are for next year and which one of the trails or tournaments you're most excited about.
Man,
so far.
I don't know. I'm probably going to start them all equally. I don't know. I'm going to start them all, kind of like we talked about the other day. Like, definitely going to, I don't know, probably do the first two of all of them and see kind of what's going best from there, and then kind of finish out the year, based on that. I don't know. It was you and I that were talking about how it's kind of like always been. I haven't like necessarily always done it that way, but it is a good way to, if you don't know exactly what direction you want to go, fish the first couple of all of them and just kind of roll from there.
Yeah. Especially if you can only get, maybe 10, 11, 12 in a year. I know you probably, how many do you fish, man? Do you fish like 15, 20?
Close to 20. Yeah. I don't know the exact number. I wish I would have added it up, but I think it was dang near 20.
Yeah. So if you're in like my position, I can usually get 12 to 14. You kind of have to go, like you're saying, with a couple and then veer off which is why I did Bassmaster. I mean, I was 7th at Harris Chain, then I got a 1st, and I was like, I'm all in now, to go try to get the AOY, which worked out obviously. And, but worked out even better for you, man. You got 2, congrats again. And, I'll catch you guys later. Thanks for having me on, Bailey. I'll let you guys finish it up.
All right, boss. We'll see you.
See you guys later.
Well, good. We got Drew on for a little bit. It was way earlier than expected, but good to get him on here. Yeah, for sure. So getting back into the talk we were going on this past year, do you feel like what's cool about the schedules is, especially from the kayak, you get to see a diverse list of fisheries, being that the 3 different trails you can pick and choose where you want to go. Where do you feel most comfortable? Like, I know Caddo is a shallow stump field or cypress field. Then you have grass fisheries in Florida, northern smallmouth. I mean, where do you feel most at home?
Honestly, so probably cypress tree lakes at this point. Like what's weird is like maybe not 5 years ago, like 6, 7 years ago, dude, I hated fishing cypress tree lakes. Like, it was like the one jump from a bass boat to a kayak that it is a big benefit. Fishing cypress tree lakes from a kayak is a lot better than fishing them from a boat.
Thinking about that, I mean, just from a maneuverability standpoint, I mean, it's
and you can catch a lot so much closer to the kayak too. Like, it's like I've caught so many big fish just 4 or 5 feet pitch from the kayak, and I don't know if you'd catch those from a bass boat per se.
I mean, out with that trolling motor,
yeah. But man, I don't know. But I like them all, man. I don't know. I grew up more diverse than I feel like I am currently, which is kind of weird. Like growing up in the Ozarks, it was all about, drop shotting in 45 foot of water and, chasing those big suspended spotted bass with tubes and jerk baits and stuff. But I don't know, like the kayak definitely kind of brought me more back to like more of the Arkansas River, Lake Dardanelle type of routes that I don't know, I would spend more of my summers on, not as much of like my springs and falls. So yeah, I don't know. I would say cypress tree. I'm not just saying that because we just left Caddo. I still think it's the best lakes in the.
Well, man, I can tell you, as of right now, I'll be happy to never fish another cypress tree lake in my entire life.
We're going back. We're going back in March.
I know. I got it. I have it pending on my schedule for next year as like more of, do I want to go and like get revenge, or do I just not go and just save that trip for something else?
You'll love it. You can take all the grass and just say, forget it. Just go fish the trees.
Yeah, I mean, I'll save the TOC talk because this is about you, because I don't want to go on that rampage again. But one thing, are you back in Arkansas? I'm trying to remember where we were last time we talked.
Yeah, I'm in like Batesville, Arkansas, kind of on the lower part of the White River.
Oh, so you had a nice quick trip to TOC.
Oh yeah. No, it used to like Caddo used to only be 3.5 hours for me, and now it's like 4 to 4.5. Little, not as far as you though.
No,
Not
no.
far.
I can't complain because I mean I think Cody Henley, he was like Utah or something like that. He's way out there, and then we had a Canadian that was in the event. Like I can't really complain about 18, 19, but I am looking forward to decreasing heavily my drive time from last year.
Yeah,
3 20-hour drives for events.
It was worth
not the most fun.
Yeah, good year.
Yeah, it was worth it for Eufaula anyway. Maybe not Toledo, but dude, talking about this past year, was there a tournament that stood out for whether it's KBF or Hobie or maybe even Bassmaster that helped you lead into another one? But is there a tournament that really kind of set your role for being consistent this season? If that makes sense. Or one that just started that click?
Man, probably I would say it was probably leaving Santee. Oh, it was probably leaving Santee. I felt like I made some pretty good decisions that week. Because I mean, it was kind of, I've told the story a few times, but like I didn't ever even fish where I fished where I practiced on Friday at Santee, but like I didn't fish where I'd caught like 108 inches and 104 inches. Like I had some banner days out there, and I never went back to them, mainly weather dependent, like kind of like we were talking about earlier. Like I didn't think that it would work, and it found something that was like, I don't know, I caught like low 80s there in practice, and it just ended up being a little better than I thought it was. And then I think the weekend after that, I was immediately back on Caddo, and I won that tournament. But it was probably that time period. Like that time period, I felt like I was fishing really good, and I felt like if I could kind of stay in that mindset, and like for me, that's just being excited about where I'm fishing. Like I know I've never had a good tournament whenever I get somewhere and I don't want to be there. Doesn't matter where it is. Like you got to find some reason to like wherever you are. And more times than not, it's not the fishing, because we go to these famous lakes that are actually way better on paper than they are when you actually get there.
Right.
So you gotta find some reason to actually like the place, in my opinion. But no, that was probably it. Like, and from that point on, I mean, I won a tournament on St. Clair, but I didn't really have a lot of great tournaments after that. I just didn't really have many bad ones either. And I don't know, knowing the whole year was going to end on Caddo, end on Kentucky Lake. I don't know. Those have always been two, really good places for me. So just like, it seemed like the whole year had a picture as long as I just like went with it and, finished it out.
Yeah, I remember our buddy Mr. Adam Reiser talking about that Santee event in particular, because obviously that crazy cold front came through, which I think spoiled a monster of a tournament that could have been had. Yeah, I remember him saying how you guys, it was like you, him, and Russ, how you guys just had something going where you're like, if you guys with the current weather pattern, but like if you three didn't top three, then it would be something bad would have had to happen, which cold front.
Yeah. Yep. No, and that was kind of my post cold front deal. Like I was staying with them, and they had a really, like, it was a really awesome, cool bite. And I just could never catch any big fish doing it. Like I was throwing a 1 ounce spinnerbait out on the main lake, and I knew there was like no way that was going to happen. But I don't know. Somebody did go there. I think Corey Racer went there the second day and did have like one of the bigger bags that second day. But I think that was when Vinny caught the 108 inches. So there were still some big records broken. There was still, I think it was the second day, right? When he caught the 108, 106.
It was second day.
Yeah, which I was calling that the week before. I was like, there's absolutely no way the 1 day record doesn't get broken in this tournament. Like, no way it doesn't. And I'm pretty sure it did. I'm pretty sure it did. So.
Yeah, I think that 108 is the record for Hobie anyway.
Yeah. Yep. No, I think so.
Dang. Totally random, but I throw 1 ounce spinnerbaits up here for smallmouth, but I'm intrigued now. Way you were throwing it at CNC, what was your rod and reel setup for that?
So I was throwing a 7 for that, for the 3/4 ounce and half, for the 3/4 ounce and 1 ounce. I throw a 744. Because usually it's in current, like a current driven bite for when I'm doing that, or like live scope and brush piles or something. But no, in this, I was fishing like those 8 to 9 foot cypress trees, like the deepest ones on the lake. But I don't know, you probably could have used a little shorter rod, but yeah, no, pretty much just a jig rod for like the big heavy spinner bait was about it.
That makes me feel much better. So I do the same thing. Yeah, jig rod.
Yeah, get to that point, like you're not trying to save the wire, you're not trying to, you're throwing a big old hunk of lead with blades.
Yeah, you're just trying to drive that hook home.
Yeah, pretty much.
That bite is unreal. The spinnerbait is one, I don't know why we keep coming back to this past few episodes, but like it's just been like the resurgence the past year and a half of like the spinnerbait.
Yeah,
I mean, if it wasn't for a spinnerbait, I wouldn't have cashed a single check this year.
Yeah, spinnerbait. I don't know. I mean, I always I called it like 2-3 years ago. Yeah, it was like the resurgence of the spinnerbait, but I think it was because of the jackhammer. I really do. I think it was just like that same feeling, that same presentation without quite the amount of pressure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the spinnerbait will always, like, it never stopped working. I think you're right. I think it's just that entrance of the chatterbait jackhammer where people kind of went nuts on it and just threw that a little bit over a spinnerbait in certain situations where it's like spinnerbait always worked and it's still always going to work.
Yeah. But no, I think it's hard to say that it didn't feel like it was working better the last couple years, though. Definitely seems like it was. Yeah.
No, for sure. You could definitely argue that. Do you have is there a bait that you can name this past year that was kind of like your quote unquote MVP?
It would be the Megabass 110 Junior and a spinnerbait. Accent spinnerbait.
Junior +1, or I think they have a +2 now, right?
Yeah, that's the +1 though.
+1. Yeah, that. We'll leave the conversation right there because that bait's nasty.
I can't. I can't find a better one. Still looking.
Yeah,
I'm looking.
It's pretty dang good.
It is.
So I know. So you mentioned your tournament season really like hit your stride at Santee, but was there any adjustments or any changes you had to make throughout the year to either get back on track, or you felt yourself going a different trend that kind of helped you stay back, in that streamline that you were going through?
Not particularly, other than the fact I don't know, I definitely wasn't having as good of tournaments, and I put a little emphasis on I think I practiced 2 weeks for the national championship, so it was for me, having a good week usually brings kind of having a decent tournament the next time. Kind of like any of us, I feel like you have a couple good tournaments, you can kind of keep them rolling. So I don't know. I probably put a little extra emphasis on the national championship than I normally would have, just because it was, there was a week in between the two, and I don't know. It felt like having good momentum for that one, would bleed into having a good tournament at Caddo, and I don't know. That was kind of exactly what my game plan was, and it definitely, I don't know, it filed in there pretty good. It did.
Heck yeah. Are you still guiding back home?
Man, not as much. I talked to someone the other day. I'll probably do no more than a dozen trips this winter. Probably 8 to a dozen or so. I'll go a lot, but no, I don't particularly. I don't like guiding with people that like to fly fish as much as people that throw big swim baits, like jerk baits. I like taking family trips where we're fly fishing, but I don't like taking the guy that traveled 1,000 miles to come strip streamers on the White River for a couple days,
Yeah.
But not to say it's not a great angler, but it's just, I don't know, I prefer the other sides of it.
Yeah, no, I wanted to make sure. I mean, there's definitely, I remember we talked about that in the first show of the guide, and then it's, there's a few folks that guide from the kayak, and I know you don't do it all the time from the kayak. You do what is it called?
The jet boat.
The jet boat, yeah. I couldn't remember if it was a different one. There's the drift boat, the one that's you get the oars.
Yeah,
what it is. I don't know.
I've got oars, the flat bottom jet boat.
Yeah, see that part's sick though.
Yeah.
when we talk about the guidance stuff, there's some like we talk about Adam Reiser, Matthew Scotch was coming on the show. Like, so people don't realize you can guide from a kayak, and I thought that was actually cool. Well, I will be sure to dive into that when Matt comes on because some of the stuff I see him put out is sick.
No, he hammers them. I think he was like hammering them today. Actually, I was talking to him today.
Of course. Yeah, it's always one where, especially in the winter months, he's out there smoking. I'm on a glide bait or something, and I'm up here in the snow, just jealous, jealous the whole time.
Awesome.
But so, dude, this past year, was there anything else that you think kind of helped lead to your success at all? Like anything you do on the road that kind of helps lead into being, mentally on point during practice and tournaments, maybe external?
Man, not really. Probably just, I don't know. It's the first year I've fished out of the same boat for, I think it's the first time I've been in the same boat for the last 3 years. So it was like, I feel like not re-rigging a boat 3 or 4 different times during the year, or just thinking I needed 3 or 4 different boats to fish out of. I don't know. It made it pretty simple. And like, there's probably not a better hybrid boat than the PA-12 360. Like, I feel like I can pretty well launch it. I can launch it off about anything, and I can, take it out on as big a water as I need to. And it really doesn't paddle that bad either. Like, you're not going to paddle a PA-14 well, but like you can paddle a PA-12 if you have to. So no, I mean, that's probably the most consistent change I really made this year, was just using the same boat at every event.
Are you a cook your own food kind of guy or a fast food kind of guy? What's your
mixture of both? Yeah. If Russ has some leftover things in the fridge, he'll throw me something, or like I ate a lot of hard boiled eggs for like a week straight at Kentucky. But yeah, no, sometimes more pre-cooked meals than others, but no, I'm also good with just like, rolling through McDonald's for a few days in a row. It doesn't bother me too much.
So Russ is the chef of the group then, eh?
He's the only one that's like thinks ahead of time to bring something like that. That's the biggest thing.
I love it. Just show up and go fish, not even worry about the food.
That's true.
That's awesome. Well, dude, is there I got one last question for you before we start wrapping this thing up. Is there any sponsors or anything like that you want to thank from this past year that played a big part in your 2 AOYs?
Man, absolutely. Fish USA. If you need, any type of tackle you want, rods, reels, they pretty much get them all to you in 2 days. Dakota Lithium. I think they make about every different battery you can think of now. And I ran the Newport NK 180 all year on the Dakota 24 volt, 50 amp hour. And I've ran it on, 200s together. Like the amount of, like I haven't actually ran 200s dead yet, but I can like pretty easily do 17 to 18 miles with 250 amp hours together. So, I mean, that's made a big difference for me. Like just being able to keep those batteries together and just load them in and out of the van. I mean, it's been, and just being able to have multiple days without power. Like that's been like for me in practice, that's usually like quite the deal. It's like I usually can't charge them for a few days. So having batteries I know are going to run a couple days has been crucial. And Dobbins rods. This was the first year I fished all year with Dobbins. Can't say enough about those rods. I've caught so many fish on a 683 spinnerbait rod. It's not even funny. 683 and a 703. It's been the 2 rods of choice for me this year.
Which series are you running?
The Champions.
Champions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do like this is the 705 CB. I use that one some for a jerk bait, but I just did get a 684 CB that I'm actually liking a little more for that jerk bait we were talking about.
Yeah, that's
things pretty legit. Yeah.
Dobbins makes some damn good rods. That's for
They do. Some of the best composite blanks. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's completely agree. Especially the chatterbait rod. They make one of the best composite chatterbait rods. Or not, sorry, it's glass.
It's both. Yeah, it's composite. Yeah, it is. It's like their CB glass one, like the 736?
Yeah.
Yeah, 736 CB glass maybe.
Yeah, my buddy Steve Mooey from Florida raves about it all the time. It's the only
Does he?
chatterbait
Man, if I could catch a fish on a chatterbait, I might like the rod because I have it, but I hadn't caught a fish on it.
Yeah, it was not a year of the chatterbait for a few folks. That's for dang sure.
No.
Like, me one of them, man. It was weird. Very strange.
Maybe the new one from Berkeley.
I did catch some on it at Caddo. Caught some big ones on it, but they didn't want to eat it on tournament day, I guess. Yeah. I take it back. I caught my first, within the first 5 minutes, I catch an 18.5 on that. And I'm like, this is going to be, and then, of course, don't get a limit for the first day. But, yeah, so they started off great. But
yeah.
It is. But, yeah, dude, Fish USA is, like, right down the road from me. I'm, like, maybe
it's not far at all. Yep.
Yeah. I've been there in the store.
For Lake Erie. Yeah. I've only been in the store for it once, so you've probably been in it more than I have.
But I've been in it, I think, twice. I used to work for a company, and we would go down there and like visit the crew and stuff. And they had like a kayak showroom. I think they expanded on it.
They do. Yeah, it's actually it's pretty big now. But yeah, I know they've got a bunch of sales coming next week too, so should be a lot to look for there.
Heck yeah, and I'm sure you'll probably throw some stuff on your story or something like that. And even if not, everyone that's listening, if you're not already, all of Cody's social media and stuff, you guys should go follow along, keep along with that. It'll be linked down below so you guys can go and click and make it super easy. Highly encourage you to go follow along. But before I know I asked you this 3 years ago, but I think 3 years it kind of calls for an update here.
Yeah.
But the last question of the night is: if you had 3 different people to sit down, have a steak, have a beer with, they don't have to be fishing. They don't have to be presently alive. They could be alive 1,000 years ago. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What 3 individuals would you have a steak, have a beer with, and pick their brain?
Do you know which 3 I chose 3 years ago?
You know what? If I was way better at podcasting, I would have looked it up and then had those prepared. But
I was kind of hoping you did know because I was wondering if they changed for myself, so I didn't know.
You know what? Here's what we'll do because I don't know and it's fresh. Name your 3 and we'll see if there's a similarity if it's changed. I'll go back and look after this.
Okay. No, I think it would still be Tiger Woods. I say still be. I don't know. I'm saying, but it would be Tiger Woods, Rick Clunn, and I don't know. I feel like I would have said Kevin Van Dam then, but I don't know. We'll put Jacob Wheeler in the mix now. I hadn't got to hear him talk enough. Yeah, I'm a big Wheeler fan for the most part. I am. I think it's pretty incredible, like what he's done this last couple of years. Like absolutely insane.
I think if you're a tournament angler and you are competitive and you like to see strategy at its finest,
you're not exactly what you're saying. Yeah, and I'm convinced he's putting in more time than anybody else too. Like I know he is. I know he's out thinking everybody, but I feel like he's out working everybody too.
I've heard people not really rumors per se, but like texts of like pictures of him at lakes that they're going to way far in advance where they can practice from. Doesn't talk about it, doesn't post about it. No. But he's out there grinding every day. I mean, that's up.
I know. I'd seen him, and it was years ago. I know I saw him. We were on Kentucky Lake the last day of some cutoff, and I know he was there. I saw him running around both days, and I saw him on the south end and the north end. It was like, dude, the dude had practiced everywhere in the amount of 2 days that I was there. But it was like some cutoff before some tournament like that. But I don't know. You have to let me know. It'll be interesting to know what the three changes are.
Yeah, when I go to edit this and put it up, I'll have to browse through the first one we did and see what your answer was. I'll let you know. I'll shoot you. But
sounds good.
Beyond the tournaments for next year, is there anything coming down the pipe that the people should be knowing about or getting excited about that's coming for you?
Man, nothing right now. I don't know. I'm still doing some planning myself right now. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, still hadn't like dove into the winter yet. I know it's like well upon us, but like it's still like setting into me, I guess, somewhat. But we'll see. Like I'm like ready for next year to start. If we're being honest.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, you and me both. I say that as I'm looking at 4 feet of snow outside, but once it melts, we can get the heck out of here. But it's nice though. Harris Chain is my parents actually just moved last summer. My parents just moved down to Charlotte, which is 2 hours from Harris Chain. So I can't wait to get kickstarted and fed. I'm sure you'll be there.
Oh,
which
yeah.
should be hopefully a good one. Yeah.
I love that lake. It's a good one.
I fished in Florida once, but I mean technically twice, but the second time doesn't really count. It was like for a media event, and I was in like Bobby Lane's boat, and we went for like an hour, and it was like it just didn't really count because
Yeah.
you're in Bobby's boat fishing his stuff. So it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know Florida, man. I'm more excited than I am like going in with high expectations, just because I'm very curious on how the place is set up and trying to
It's
figure
the
it out.
most like Florida lake there is, I would say. Like you could, yeah, I don't know, you could like take that for what it's worth, but like, yeah, there's grass in it, there's things like that, but I don't know, it's a lot more, like bring your 360 and things like that, you'll feel right at home, like well offshore out there. It's I don't know, yeah, it's a good shallow water fishery, but it's also like probably one of the better offshore Florida lakes.
Yeah, and I'm sure it will be cool. We could do a follow-up show prior to this event, but that's kind of why I'm really excited about it. Cause like
Yeah,
I got home from TOC, I had watched the Bassmaster event there last year. But I get home from TOC and I'm like, man, I'm taking a couple weeks off. I'm like, I'm still mad at myself. And I'm like, I take one day off. The next day I'm already watching Bassmaster event from last year, trying to like study because it's the same time of year that they went back. So it's
learning
I'm
the
hoping.
code.
Yeah, how okay, so say it's a 200-person field. How many are going to be in that cove?
I don't know. There'll probably be people that cash a check in it, though. I'd say that.
I'm sure. Yeah, I would be very.
And that's such a yes, that is a famous area, but that is such a year to year like grass dependent grass growth thing, and that was a large part of what was going on there. But not to say it's not the same. You never know. Probably be one in Banana Cove.
I will be very curious whether it's like the day or two before the event or day one, just to like see how many people are really trying that thing.
Get a drone shot.
Yeah, I'm sure
it was pretty wild.
Videos.
Do you remember looking at when they did a live overview? I think even probably the video you watched, but it like showed like fish caught here and then like fish caught everywhere else or something like that. It was like single digits and there's like 300 caught over here. It was
just nuts.
Yeah. So
heck yeah. Well, dude, I'm looking forward to that event. Looking forward to seeing you. And thank you again for joining tonight. It was good to catch up.
I enjoyed it. Well, I'll be seeing you soon.
All right, boss. Well, I'm sure we'll be in touch. But again, I appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. I'll see you. Thank you.
All right, Cody. We'll see you. All right, guys. Super fun episode with Cody there. Great to catch up. Again, I don't know why it took me 3 years to get him back on the show. I'll have to dump the first episode that we did with him down the show notes. Be cool to see, one, what more you can learn from Cody, but two, how bad the show was 3 years ago in its preliminary stages. But a lot of fun. And if you guys have not already, Cody was on Kayak Bass Nation's live stream this past Monday. The show obviously aired on a Friday. They had a live stream on Monday. Encourage you to go watch those fellows over there. They also had Cody on in case there's any more nuggets, if you haven't listened to it yet, that he unleashed. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to hop on that live stream. I'm going to watch that. And then if you haven't already, if you haven't followed Debo's Fishing, Andy and I did a live stream with him this past weekend. We'll link that down below in case you guys want to check that out. A lot of tackle talk. Speaking of tackle talk, it's a Friday. So tomorrow, Saturday, means there's going to be a new Lure Lab episode. If you guys have not checked out our new show on the network, the Lure Lab, I encourage you to. It's all tackle bait centric. Very specific. Andy is running that gig over there and does a great job with it. Encourage you to go check it out. But without further ado, folks, appreciate you guys as always joining in here, and we'll see you guys next week.